and welcome to episode 2 of the CyHawk Sports Podcast. I'm Dawson Livingston, joined by Braden Bankin and Trey Danielson. How you guys doing?
Doing
Excellent.
good, of course.
Jazz 4-0, baby.
Hey, same with
tonight,
the Bulls.
of course.
Same with the Bulls. Looking great.
It's kind of tough being a Cavs fan. I mean, we are 3-2, but not 4-0.
Hey, you're 3-2. Evan Mobley's playing pretty good. The future's looking bright.
Rookie of the year. Rookie of the year. All right, Cavs. They might sneak into the play-in tournament. All right. Enough with the Cavs. We'll talk about those kind of teams later.
We'll get there.
Oh, yeah. So, we're first going to talk about this past weekend with Iowa State, because they were the only team in the state that played. So, Iowa State beat Oklahoma State, number 8 in the country, number 9 in the country.
Number 8.
Iowa State was touchdown favorites, but, I mean, I think most people in the nation would have picked Iowa State over Oklahoma State. I don't think Oklahoma State was that legit of a team, if I'm being honest. What are your thoughts, Bank? You were at this game, and I believe you stormed the field.
I was on the field after we won. It was a fantastic day to be in Ames, Iowa. The environment there was just great. I mean, we weren't exactly happy at the refs for basically throwing the flag on Xavier Hutchinson for hurting the defender's feelings, but after that right there changed the entire game because, like, especially that last drive, the fans were so riled up after that we basically just made their quarterback, like, their whole offense just couldn't communicate because we were being so loud. That's what led to the Will McDonald sacks, and that's basically what sealed the game. But yeah, I would like to say that although I did make fun of the spread, it still hit. Oklahoma, we did not win by a touchdown, so it was best case scenario for me because my guess hit and my team won, so it's perfect.
Oh, that's good. Trey, what are your thoughts on the Iowa State game? Or do you have any thoughts on that game?
I do not know anything about it.
All right. So now let's move into this week with Iowa and Iowa State. Iowa has a pretty tough game in Madison this week, going against the Badgers. Iowa's still number 9 in the country. They moved up 2 spots after the bye week. What are you guys' thoughts on this game? Iowa is 3.5-point underdogs, and the over-under is only 36.5, which I believe is the lowest I've ever seen for a college football game. What are you guys' thoughts on the game?
Yeah, that sounds like Big Ten to me.
I would bet on Wisconsin.
You think Wisconsin's going to win? Really?
Yeah, I don't believe in Iowa at all this season. I do believe in Wisconsin. I just don't think Iowa's... Just watching their offense, it's just not that good.
It's not. I will give you that. It is very hard to watch, but you don't think Iowa's defense can force Wisconsin's quarterback to, I don't know, throw 3 more picks like he did against Notre Dame? I mean,
watching that Iowa secondary against Purdue, no, I do not think so.
Okay, when you say Purdue, do you mean David Bell against Iowa secondary? I think that's what you meant, because Bell, the last 3 years, I think, has had 200 yards every single year.
David Bell's a hell of a player. Like,
he's going pro.
He will be probably like a top 2-3 round pick.
Oh yeah. Yep. All right. So now we talked about a little bit about the Iowa-Wisconsin game. You guys think? So Trey thinks Wisconsin's going to win. Braden, who do you think's going to win this game?
It's a toss-up. I mean, I feel like Iowa's going to go into that game with a lot more like. Being a lot more humble after being humbled by Purdue. They had the bye week to prepare. I don't think Kirk Ferentz is going to let that team lose.
Right.
Like I wouldn't say again, but I'm sure if Kirk Ferentz somehow loses that game, I would not want to be at practice if I'm a player at Iowa. That would be rough. I got Iowa winning this one. It's going to be close, but I think Iowa's going to pull it out.
Right.
They're the better team. They should play like it.
Well, they were the better team against Purdue, but they just didn't play like it whatsoever.
Everybody has a trap game every once in a while.
That's true.
How often do you have 2 back-to-back? Well, not back-to-back, but 2 trap games in a row on the schedule.
Right. And I do think Iowa's going to win. I mean, when these 2 teams last played last year, Iowa did win 28-7. And I would trust, honestly, I don't think I've said this all year, I trust Petras more than I trust Wisconsin's quarterback because on the year he has 7 picks compared to 2 touchdowns. Petras does have 5 picks or 6 picks, but he does have 9 touchdowns to back it up. So
that takes a lot to say that you trust a quarterback less than Petrus.
I know, but I'm going to roll with the Hawkeyes in this one. That might be a little bit of bias coming out, but I'm rolling with the Hawkeyes. All right, now we're going to the game that Iowa State is in. It's Iowa State at West Virginia. Iowa State is ranked 22nd in the country. They moved into the top 25 after beating Oklahoma State. Iowa State is 7-point favorites, so touchdown favorites. The over-under is 48. Who do you guys think is going to win this one? Iowa State or West Virginia? West Virginia is 3-4 this year, and Iowa State is 5-2.
Yeah, I got Iowa State winning this one. Absolutely no bias here, of course. But, I mean, I wouldn't count out the Mountaineers because if there's anything that I've known Iowa State for in all of my 19 years of watching them try to play football, it's that they will lose the games they should not lose and win the games they have no business winning.
So you're kind of saying play up to your opponent and play down to your opponent.
Think Pittsburgh Steelers. Not this year, but like last 5-6 years.
Honestly, you could say this year because the Steelers are the only team to beat the Bills this season. Or no, second team.
You could.
Titans. I forgot about the Titans game.
But
yeah,
especially in years past. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't count the Mountaineers entirely out, but right. I got the Clones winning this one.
Right. All right, Trey. I know you're not much of an Iowa State fan or much of a college football guy, but do you have any thoughts on this game? Or
yeah,
the next section?
It just sounds like Iowa State's better. I mean, I think they'll win.
All right, and I would have to agree with both of you. I mean, Iowa State, this is their time of the year where they win a lot of football games. They call it Brocktober for a reason. Brock Purdy is really, really good in October, and they always start off really slow to start the season, but they always finish really strong. We saw that last year, and it'll probably happen this year. Iowa State right in line to get to the Big 12 championship game, which is good for the state of Iowa. All right, moving in to the top college football games this week. I mean, the main game that everyone's talking about is in East Lansing tomorrow. And it's the Wolverines, undefeated, number 6 in the nation, going into East Lansing versus the number 8 Michigan State Spartans. This is the game everyone's talking about. This could have a huge impact on the playoff. Because if one of these teams wins out, they're in. If one of these, let's say for the sake of this argument, Michigan wins. They win out, but they lose to Ohio State, and they don't get in the Big Ten championship. Then it's like, do you put an Ohio State team in to the playoff, or do you put like a Cincinnati team in? So this game has major impact on the playoff. Whoever wins this game, their playoff hopes are still very much alive, and whoever loses this game, their playoff hopes are pretty much done. What are you guys' thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I don't think anybody expected this game to have this much playoff implications going into the season. Especially, nobody thought Michigan State was going to be undefeated going this far. I mean, I think Michigan's probably going to win this one just because I don't know. That Michigan State running back has a really good chance of winning the Heisman. Yeah, Kenneth Walker's been a beast this year.
I think he almost already has 1,000 yards on the season, which is crazy to even think about when you're 7 games in. Yeah, Kenneth Walker, 152 carries, 997 yards, 9 touchdowns for Michigan State. Trey, do you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm a big Huskers fan, so go Huskers.
You're a big Huskers fan?
Oh my God, shut up. No, you are not.
All right, permission to take your name out of the podcast and just boot you entirely. We do not accept Huskers fans around here. Although I do know some Huskers fans, we do not like Huskers at all.
No.
All right, I'm trying to look and see if there's any other big games. We do have another big one in the SEC. It's Ole Miss, number 10 in the nation, 6-1, taking on Auburn, number 18 in the nation, at Auburn. I mean, if Ole Miss wins this, I think they did lose to Alabama, so their playoff hopes are pretty much done. But that's still a very good matchup between top 20 teams. I mean, Ole Miss could definitely have some say, and they could ruin some people's seasons. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think losing to Alabama is not like the end-all, be-all for a team. Like if they can win out, I mean, they have a shot. I don't know about
Right.
like playoffs, but it's gonna probably be at least a New Year's Six bowl if they win out.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But,
Trey, do you have any thoughts?
I don't know.
I do not on this one.
All right, and then the last big game that I had circled for this weekend is another Big Ten game, and this is going to be a game. It's number 20 Penn State versus number 5 Ohio State in Columbus. While the spread is 18.5, I mean, Ohio State's been playing really good, but Penn State's still they're still very good. They almost beat Iowa. You take away that fluke loss against Illinois. I mean, they're a very good football team, but Ohio State's been playing really, really well as of recently. They turned it around after the loss to Oregon. So you guys got any thoughts on Penn State versus Ohio State?
Not really. I mean, I don't know. Penn State's still a good football team. Ohio State's always a good football team. I mean, it's going to be a good game, but I can't really say I watched the Big Ten like a ton to be able to really give you like expert analysis.
Yeah.
On anything really Big Ten related.
Trey, do you have any thoughts on this game, or should we roll right into the next segment?
As Penn State, I would just end the football program. You lost to Illinois in 9 overtimes.
9 over.
You can't come back from that.
20-18 in 9 overtimes. How long ago was it? Was it the LSU Mississippi State game where it was 7 overtimes, but the score was like 74-70 something? I think it was 3 years ago. Let me look at versus Mississippi.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like how do you play 4 quarters of football and 9? I get it's the Big Ten. There's not a ton of scoring, but like how? I watch a lot of Big 12, so I'm used to scoring, but like how? How?
Well, they have that overtime rule where starting in the 4th overtime, it's just 2-point conversions back and forth.
Well, yeah, but like
so that's part of it.
All right, so there
were only like 2-point conversions that were scored by either team.
Yeah, so that I guess I was wrong. It wasn't Mississippi State. It was Texas A&M versus LSU. It went to 7 overtimes, and the final score was 74-72.
That's what I would expect a 7 overtime game to end as a final score. Not 20-18.
All right, yeah. That was just a weird game. I remember checking my phone, and I was just like, what? And then I saw Kansas was beating Oklahoma, and I'm like, what? Then I saw Cincinnati was losing to Army or Navy, one of the teams, and I'm like, what the heck is going on in college football?
Yeah, that's why I was jumped up 2 ranks just off of a bye week. Just because
teams in front of them. Oklahoma State losing, Penn State losing. Yeah.
It's
all right. The next segment. Last week we did our Week 7 picks for the NFL, and the records are: Braden finished with 8-5. Braden's games that he got wrong was Denver at Cleveland. He picked Denver. Kansas City at Tennessee. He picked KC. Atlanta at Miami. He picked Miami. And Carolina at New York. He picked Carolina. And I think that's the only other one you lost, right? That's 5 losses?
Yeah, I would like to go on record and say on the podcast last time that I pretty much said that was a bad take on the Tennessee-Kansas City game. Yeah. I don't think I ever officially changed my
not that you sent
my prediction, but I pretty much said this is what I had, but I'm not very confident in that one.
Yeah.
So a little bit of saving grace. I took some L's, especially with that Miami one. I don't know why I thought Miami was going to win when they lost to a team that just snapped their 20-game losing streak.
Right. And then you picked the game that I don't think I had the guts to take, or Trey. You picked Cincinnati over Baltimore.
I had faith in Cincinnati, man. They are legit this year.
Apparently, me and Trey both were on the Baltimore bandwagon because Baltimore absolutely destroyed the Chargers the week before. So I just couldn't take Cincinnati, but you...
Every once in a while, you just got to go against the grain. You got to grow a pair of balls. And pick
there was one more game you got wrong. You got Indianapolis and San Francisco wrong. There was the 5th.
Yeah. Okay, that game should not have been played. I'm pretty sure that was quite literally a Category 1 hurricane that they played that game in.
Hey,
that
man.
should not have that. Both teams had to face the same conditions, but that game should not have even been played in the first place.
Hey, man. The game still was played, and San Francisco did still take the L.
Yeah,
So,
I'm willing to take the L on that one, but I'm a little bit salty that game even took place in the first place.
right.
Well, cry about it. You had to go against Carson the Goat Wentz.
Carson
It
the
wasn't going to be in your
Goat
favor.
Wentz. Hey, Carson Wentz has had a sneaky good year this year. I'll take back what I said. I was beginning of the season, I'm like, he's going to be garbage like he was last year in Philly. I think he has 11 touchdowns, 1 pick on the year. He's been playing really well for the Colts.
He might
At
have
what point
two
do
after
we
that
say
one
that
against
Carson
the
Wentz is a
Niners,
system quarterback?
Okay, yeah, you might have 13 and 1, but he's still on a very good year. All right.
Oh, he's been incredible. And honestly, that pick against the Niners wasn't his fault. They might have changed it to a fumble, so
Yeah.
he's been amazing. I thought he would be under Frank Reich again, but once that team gets fully healthy, they're going to be somewhat of a contender.
Oh, yeah. Moving into Trey's picks, Trey finished the week 9-4. The games he got wrong was Denver at Cleveland. He picked Denver. Kansas City at Tennessee. He picked Kansas City. Carolina at New York. He picked Carolina. And Cincinnati at Baltimore. He picked Baltimore. Me and him were on the same train with Baltimore. I really don't know how Baltimore got beat that badly. Maybe it's just Burrow to Chase. Maybe that's the new Brady to Moss or whatever connection, but I don't even know what to say about that game.
I can't blame myself for any of my picks. Listening to them again, I think I was right. They just happened to be upsets. Because yours were the exact same, right? Except for Denver and...
Yeah, me and
Cleveland?
Trey's picks were pretty identical. The only game I picked different than Trey, which is why I ended up going 10-3 on the week, is I picked Cleveland over Denver. Just because...
Sometimes you got to go against the grain.
Yeah, I guess.
This week it didn't work, but hey, maybe next week. We'll see.
So far, the weekly standings, or the all-time standings, are I'm sitting at 10-3, Trey's sitting at 9-4, Brain's sitting at 8-5. But still, how many weeks left in the NFL season? So those records could certainly change. All right, moving on. Who do you think? We'll stick with the NFL. This is about the time of the year where we start talking about NFL coaches on the hot seat. What coach do you guys think is on the hottest seat right now, where it's losing his job right now? If you had to say
Urban Meyer, for sure.
Urban Meyer?
Yeah.
I think
agree.
he'll be gone.
I think he'll be gone. I think he's lost that locker room completely. I just don't think he's a pro coach. He's a great college coach. We've seen what he's done at Ohio State and Florida, but he's not a pro coach.
Like it'd be one thing if he was it'd be one thing if he was just a bad NFL coach, but then to go out and get caught in 4K like that, like you're done. You can't come back from that.
No, you can't recover from that, especially with a losing team like Jacksonville and a rookie quarterback. That's like the worst thing you could do is just completely lose the locker room. You guys have any more NFL coaches you think are on the hot seat? I have a list right here. I just wanted to see what you guys thought of.
Yeah, I can't really think of a ton that are like on the hot seat like right now. Maybe like a couple, like maybe like a year or two down the line, if they continue to be bad, I could see them getting the axe. But as of this year, I think most coaches are pretty much fine.
I do have one guy that I think will get whacked by the end of the year and will get fired. I think it's Matt Nagy.
Oh, yeah. How did I forget about
awful.
Matt Nagy? Yeah, he's gone.
Matt Nagy's he's gone. The Bears are a mess this year on offense. I don't think it's Justin Fields' fault. He just doesn't have anything around him. I mean, both the starting running backs have been hurt, Damian Williams and Dave Montgomery. He doesn't throw to Allen Robinson, which I don't know why.
Well, it probably doesn't have time. I mean, that offensive line is just bad.
Yeah, that's a terrible offensive line.
You can't really throw it deep to Allen Robinson if you don't have time to throw it.
Right. Trey,
especially as a rookie.
What do you think about Matt Nagy? Is he on the hot seat?
Yeah, I think he'll definitely be gone. And I just want to say the Bears need to free Allen Robinson. He has had to deal with Blake Bortles his whole career, and then the mess of Bears quarterbacks. He deserves better.
Fields, Dalton. Yeah, he needs to be set free. And I agree with that.
I would have quit football years ago if I were him.
Hey, you know what? Trade deadline's coming up this upcoming Tuesday. Let's see if he gets dealt. I mean, Bears certainly are looking good, so maybe they decide to trade him, get something in return.
For his sake, I hope so.
Yeah, he deserves it. He needs to go to a team.
Better.
He needs to go to a team that needs a receiver because he's still a great receiver. I think if you put him on most teams, he's wide receiver 1 outside of like 5 guys off the top of my head.
Right.
And then I have one more guy that I think is definitely on the hot seat. But this could just be because he's in my division, and I don't think that they're good at all. I think it's Vic Fangio. I think his stint with Denver. It's just not been good.
Yeah, Denver's always been a team that's been like good on paper and then just underperformed.
Oh yeah, like when they were 3-0, I was not a believer. They beat 3-0-3 teams. I think that was the stat.
Probably, yeah. I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then people were like, "Oh, it's Denver's coming out party," but it's like, no, Denver still hasn't proved me anything. They've just beaten up bad teams. And when they've played legit teams, they're getting blown out. Trey, what do you think?
Yeah, and I don't think Teddy Bridgewater being his quarterback has been much help for him either. I think Bridgewater is a little overrated coming into the year. But, yeah, he definitely could be doing better with what he has, especially on defense. But if I'm Denver before I fire the coach, I'd give him someone like Deshaun Watson, who's up for grabs.
You know he is, and like we said earlier, trade deadline's coming up, but seems like Watson is either going to stay in Houston or be dealt to Miami, but who knows. And he could get traded to Denver in the NFL offseason, so we could see Deshaun Watson in a Broncos uniform next season. All right, so that's NFL coaches on the hot seat. Now let's go into our Week 8 locks for the NFL. Brayden, you want to start with your Week 8 locks?
Yeah. So we all have 5.
Yep.
So I'm gonna start with the game that's going on tonight. Actually,
Really?
Green Bay. I mean, they're down their wide receiver 1 and 2. Their number 1 receiver right now is MVS, and that's if he's like cleared to play.
Right.
And if it's not him, it's gonna be like what, Randall Cobb,
Amari Rodgers,
Equanimous St. Brown.
Yeah.
Like, Aaron Rodgers is good. He's probably at least top 5 all time.
Oh,
at the very least.
Yeah.
But like, the man can't do it all himself. If his number 1 receiving target is Robert Tonyan,
Yeah.
you can hear the Packer fan absolutely going.
Don't the Packers still have Aaron Jones tonight? I'd say he's their number 1.
They do have.
Receiving.
Yeah, probably.
Jones did have 3 receiving touchdowns against Lions earlier this year.
Yeah, that's the Lions.
I understand. But
but I mean, Arizona also has their injuries with J.J. Watt out for the season.
Yeah, that's a tough loss for Arizona.
But yeah, I think Arizona's probably got this. I mean, they haven't lost yet. I can't see them losing to Green Bay's practice squad with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. But yeah, I think Arizona's probably my first lock. And then my number 2 is Buffalo over Miami. I mean, I put my faith in Miami once. Probably not going to do that again.
Right.
Buffalo's going to take care of business, especially coming out of a bye week. They've had extra time to prepare. As much preparing as they need to do against Tua turn the ball over. But, I mean, yeah, Buffalo's probably got that one. And then my next one, Cincinnati over the Jets. I mean, it's the Jets.
You're all aboard the Cincinnati.
I am aboard. I am the conductor of the Cincinnati hype train. Cincinnati is legit this year. They're going to take care of business against the Jets, unless they somehow manage to put out whatever they put out against Titans. Yeah. I think Cincinnati's got that one pretty handily.
Well, I also think Zach Wilson's not even playing that. They're down to their backup.
They traded for Joe Flacco, and I think that's who's going to be starting.
Right.
So we'll see if Joe Flacco's elite-o-meter is turned on or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Cincinnati's got that one pretty good. The Rams against Houston. Houston is not good, Brandon Cooks has pretty much made it official. Like, hey, get me the hell up and out of here.
I don't blame
that. I don't either. I mean, your starting quarterback right now is Davis Mills. I would not want to be there either.
Hey, that Davis Mills had 300 yards on Bill Belichick, the greatest defensive mind in the history of the sport.
That may be true, but I mean, come on. It's the Rams. Like the Rams, although they did almost lose to the Lions somehow, but yeah, the Rams have this one pretty well, and then Tampa Bay over New Orleans.
Really? You're not buying New Orleans at all?
No.
All right,
they're not. I mean, other than like Kamara, and Marshawn Lattimore, what else do they really have to their name?
A decent O-line.
Yeah, I mean,
quarterback.
Great
Jameis
quarterback.
Winston, baby.
Hey, that's Mr. 30 for 30.
They're not beating Tampa Bay.
No,
they're just not. I'm sorry. As fantastic as Jameis Winston's turnover factory is, Tampa Bay is going to win this one.
Were the Jets supposed to beat the Titans? I leave my case there.
I don't know what this has to do with New Orleans, but...
Well, I'm just saying upsets happen all the time that no one thinks of.
Upsets happen, but like...
Yeah, I get you.
They don't happen against Tom Brady.
That's true.
Other than the Super Bowl. You shut up. I know what you're about to say, Trey. Don't even... No. We're not... No.
Hey, he's not an Eagles fan. He's a Colts fan. I think
he's a Carson Wentz fan, and Carson Wentz was not playing in the Super Bowl.
So, yeah.
Hey, he's got a ring. He's got a ring.
He's got... I was going to say he's got more rings than Jimmy G, but no. Jimmy G has 3. Jimmy G has 2.
Jimmy G has 2.
Okay, I was going to say, I knew he had a couple.
He has more rings than George Kittle. So. And Trey Lance.
Trey Lance is a rookie.
Trey Lance has played 7 games.
He hasn't even played in 7. He's played in like 2.
Hey,
he's been on the bench for a bunch.
How many did Jimmy G play when he got his 2 rings?
How many? Shut up.
All right. Is that all your locks for week 8?
That is my 5. Yes, I got Arizona, Buffalo, Cincinnati, the Rams, and Tampa Bay.
All right, Trey. What are your week 8 locks?
Yeah, mine is basically a copy and paste. I have Arizona, Buffalo, Cincinnati, and the Rams, just like Bank did, for all the same reasons. They're just better teams playing bad teams. Except for Arizona and Green Bay. I could still see that one going to Green Bay, but they just do have so many injuries, and Arizona's been so dominant. I don't see Arizona blowing this game, and it's at Arizona. I didn't have Tampa Bay and New Orleans, though. That's what I was looking at to take Tampa. But I actually took Kansas City over the Giants. Not that I really trust Kansas City, but I just think they're better than the Giants. Seeing how badly they beat Washington, I think they'll do the same thing to the Giants. New York's just so bad, and
I mean, we say that, but they beat the brakes off of Carolina. So I mean,
Carolina is a fraud. I'll say that right now.
Well, they are.
Sam Darnold is
Carolina.
Bad. He started the season good, but Carolina's a bunch of frauds. They're a bunch of they're a bunch of frauds with Darnold. They're a legit team with a competent quarterback.
Give PJ Walker some time; he'll figure it out.
Yeah, I guess.
That's an elite defense, though, in Carolina. Yeah. Maybe not elite, but it's a really good defense.
Oh, it's young too. Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin.
Either.
They have Stephon Gilmore. Like people forgot he's still around.
I don't. What has he been doing?
I think he's been injured. I think he's been. I think he was on IR until week 6. I don't know if he played last week or not. So
that checks out.
All right, Trey. What are your other ones?
Well, that's all of them.
Oh, so what did you? Can you just go over your?
Yeah, it's Arizona, Buffalo, Cincinnati, LA, and then Kansas City against the Giants. So only difference between me and Banks was Kansas City, and I agreed with all of his too. The Tampa one I think is a good pick.
Yeah. All right, those are very good picks. I think mine are similar, but I also took a curveball that neither of you took. So I'll just start out with the easy one: Cincinnati over the Jets. I don't think I need... You guys pretty much touched on that one earlier. I don't think Cincinnati lose this game after last week. Burrow to Chase is like starting to become overpowered in the NFL, so I just can't see the Jets beating the Bengals. My second one, Buffalo or Miami. Again, I feel like that one's pretty easy to pick. I mean, Josh Allen against Miami. I mean, Miami lost to Atlanta. Miami also lost to Jacksonville. I mean, I don't think Miami's good this year. All right, my third one is Kansas City over the Giants. I do think Kansas City has a bounce-back game. And if they don't, I think that Kansas City, they should have a sour taste in their mouth, and they should roll the Giants by 30. If they don't do that, I think the season's gone. I'll be honest. I think the season's gone if they don't do that.
It's already gone. I
don't know. It's not gone yet. I'm not willing to
They're not that good.
It's not gone yet. I mean,
if they lose this game, then it's gone. Because then it's like, okay, you couldn't beat the Giants.
I mean, the Buccaneers were like average going into their bye week, and then they won out.
Yeah, Chiefs bye week is like week 12, so just give it time.
Isn't there a stat that like the Chiefs have like barely lost any games in the last couple of years in the past their bye week?
Yeah.
I don't know how many years in a row that's been.
Right,
but...
yeah. Andy Reid after a bye week is pretty unstoppable. So I had Kansas City over New York. I just explained myself there. Rams over Houston. I mean, Matthew Stafford's playing at an MVP level. He's also playing the terrible Houston Texans defense. So I feel like nothing needs to be said over that. And then this one, this is kind of bold. I have the Chargers as a lock over the Patriots. I think Herbert has a huge bounce back week. I think he got embarrassed in Baltimore, and I think they come out and they roll the Patriots.
Although I did just get a notification in fantasy that Austin Eckler is questionable for this game.
That doesn't change my pick because they have Herbert, Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen.
That's true. That is very true.
The only thing that worries me, though, in this game is the Chargers' run defense is the worst in the league, other than probably Kansas City. I mean, they let Kansas City get like 100 yards on them. That's saying something. So that's the only thing.
The Patriots have like what?
Damian Harris is a pretty good back.
He's more of a receiving back, though, isn't he?
I don't know. That would be the only thing that would concern me in that game. So just to go over, I have Cincinnati over New York, Buffalo over Miami, Kansas City over New York, Los Angeles Rams over Houston, and then the Chargers over the Patriots. Those are my 5 locks for Week 8. And next episode, we'll go over to see whose everyone's record would be after this week, and then we'll add it up from Week 7. So we get the overall record for this season.
Yeah, right. I'm going undefeated this week.
Yeah, I think I am. I think I am too. I have a lot of confidence in my locks.
I think we all are pretty confident in our locks. I mean, it's not like we're betting against each other. You both picked the Green Bay one tonight, right? Or Green Bay, Arizona. You both picked Arizona.
Yeah.
So if Green Bay wins, you already have lost. Which I'm not saying Green Bay will.
That's true. But I mean, they wouldn't be locks if we weren't confident in the locks.
Oh,
then they would just be predictions.
So I just need Green Bay to come out with this fat dub, and then I can just make the lead even bigger in the standings.
That's another thing is that like the first week we picked all of the games, so like I feel like I'm already starting at a pretty bad disadvantage.
You're only down 2 games, though.
Yeah, I'm down 2, but like
we all pretty much picked the same though, so it's gonna be hard for them to get any.
Me and Trey were the exact same. Me and Trey were the exact same, other than the Denver game. Like we would have had the same exact record.
Me and Trey are the same this week, other than he has Kansas City instead of Tampa Bay.
All right. So
and Tampa I almost took, so we could have had the exact same.
Could have been literally the same.
Yeah.
That would have just screwed me over even more. At least now I have somewhat of room to at least tie you.
Yeah. All right. We just talked about the NFL. We're going to wrap that segment up. And then we're going to move into the NBA. I mean, we are in week 2 of the regular season. Not a whole lot we've seen. I mean, we're only 4 or 5 games in. But some teams have been really, really good. We see that the Bulls are still undefeated. The Jazz and Warriors are still undefeated. And we see the Lakers literally falling apart in last night's game. So I want to ask the question for both of you. What is one NBA team that has exceeded expectations? And then what's another NBA team that has underperformed this season or worried about? We'll start with Braden.
Well, I mean, I'm a Bulls fan. I had high expectations for this team, but even I don't think that we would have started off on our best on a starting 4-0 for the first time since 1996.
Yeah.
Like we have had a fairly easy schedule to start off the year, but still to be the only undefeated team left in the East is impressive to say the least.
Right.
So I would say the Bulls have overperformed, or not overperformed, but exceeded expectations.
Yeah.
And my team that I am probably the most concerned about, probably either the Lakers or the Nets. I would say probably the Lakers, because they've been at somewhat full health other than LeBron going down.
Yeah.
But that they're 2-3 right now, and when Russell Westbrook and LeBron are on the court at the same time, Russell Westbrook has just not been playing good at all.
He's just not a factor. He can't really.
No.
He's not a factor because in order for him to have success, he needs to have the ball in his hand.
Yeah. The Lakers basically just did. They basically just made a rebuild that I would have made in 2K at 12, and just decided to strut that out and expected it to work in real life. And right now, it is not at all.
Yeah. I agree with the Bulls pick, and I agree with the Lakers pick. The Lakers just, after last night, that sold me right then and there. How do you lose? How do you lose when you're up 26 against the worst team in the NBA?
Yeah, against the Thunder. The Thunder are probably the closest team to openly tanking that you are allowed to have in the NBA.
Oh, I don't think.
Honestly, if I'm the Lakers, and this is bold, but I start Rondo because he works really well with that starting unit, and I bring Westbrook off the bench. Just because Westbrook, he's really good at elevating his teammates when his teammates are worse than him. And like you said, he's best with the ball in his hands. So if you have him play like a Jordan Clarkson type role, where you just give him the ball and let him do whatever they want, I think that's the most effective way for the Lakers to use him. Or else they do need to trade for a better piece because Westbrook just isn't working with that starting lineup.
Yeah. I almost think have him be the sixth man, and then when he gets in the game, he controls the second stringers, and he can do Westbrook things. And then when Westbrook, when the starters are ready to go back in, when LeBron and Anthony Davis and others are ready to go back in, you can sit Westbrook down, and that way you can always have someone that will play their hearts out on the bench. Compared to if you have Westbrook in the starting lineup, not only is he not a factor, he's also turns the ball over at an incredible rate when he's in the starting lineup.
Yeah, but you also got to consider it's Russell Westbrook. Right. Russell Westbrook is not going to play off the bench, and he will not.
He won't. But in order for this Lakers team to turn it around, I think that might be a possibility that might have to happen.
I agree that would be the best fit for that team, but Russell Westbrook is not going to stay on the Lakers if he's going to have to play on the bench.
Well, honestly, that case, just trade him. The experiment hasn't really worked out. I know we're only 5 games in, but he hasn't even really other than the San Antonio game, Westbrook had a quadruple double last night with 10 turnovers. I don't think that there's been 11 games like that in NBA history. He has 6 of them.
And he's Russell Westbrook. You know he's going to have games like that. But he talked about earlier in this season putting egos aside. If he wants to prove that, he needs to come off the bench. He'll still get 30 minutes a game off the bench because he's better than Rondo. But he just needs to realize that, hey, I have 2 other players better than me now. This is his chance to win a championship. Because he is a superstar. He's a great player.
He still is.
Yeah, he just gets a little out of control sometimes. And he just doesn't seem to work as well off ball. He just is kind of stationary, and I don't know, because I think he can work well with Anthony Davis, but with LeBron, it just doesn't work.
Well, we saw that in the San Antonio game. Him and Davis worked really well in that game. I know the Lakers barely beat the Spurs, but Westbrook had 30 points. Davis had 30 points. It's just when you add LeBron, who is another ball-dominant player, it just throws in a lot of confusion for the Lakers of who's going to handle the ball, who's going to bring the ball up the court, who's going to be the primary decision maker. And if you're the Lakers and that primary decision maker is Westbrook, you're not winning games. I'll keep it simple like that.
No, your best bet is to put the ball in LeBron's hand and let him control the offense. That's worked his whole career. He's been to 10 finals that way. I don't see that stopping anytime soon.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, Trey, what is one team that you think has exceeded the expectations, and then one team you're either worried about or has underperformed so far?
Oh, man, I got a couple. So for my Eastern Conference team that's exceeded expectations, the Charlotte Hornets. I'm surprised they're 4-1. Miles Bridges is playing out of his mind. He's putting up all-star-like numbers. Honestly, he might be averaging almost 30 points per game. I mean, that's all NBA type stuff. His leap is very impressive. LaMelo Ball, I'm just impressed with his leadership. I think that was the biggest question next to his shooting, which he's proven he can shoot the ball too at an NBA level, which I'm very surprised on because he shot like 19% in Australia. But he shoots the ball well. He's an amazing playmaker. That offense is just really good, and I just wasn't ready for it. I'm still not completely a believer in the Hornets just because they're still the Charlotte Hornets. They're the team that got blown out by the Pacers in the play-in last year. But I think looking at some of the other teams in the East, they can definitely make a playoff push this year, which I'm just kind of surprised on.
All right. I agree with that one. Do you have another team that's either exceeded expectations or that you're worried about?
Yeah, the Timberwolves have really exceeded expectations for me. They've been playing great defense. Karl Anthony Towns is doing Karl Anthony Towns things. He's a dark horse MVP candidate if the Timberwolves do well and other teams underperform. Anthony Edwards I didn't think he should be the number one pick. I thought he was a really weak number one pick. Very happy I was wrong. He's been pretty efficient to start, pretty good on defense too, which were his biggest questions, and he's legit.
Yeah, and I also agree with that one. The Timberwolves are 3-1 this year. They have a plus 5.3 point differential this year. They've just been playing really good basketball compared to Timberwolves basketball we've seen in the past. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that the Jimmy Butler experience happened. They made the 8th seed, but that team after that season just fell apart, like, in the locker room. I mean, Jimmy Butler, like, beat the starters with third stringers, so it's good to see that the Timberwolves are good again.
Yeah, I'm just happy for Karl Anthony Towns. I feel like he's deserved better. He seems to be a good guy. He's a great basketball player, and I just feel the Timberwolves haven't really served him right. But I'm glad he still stayed loyal to them because obviously what they're doing now, what they've put together has been working this year. And I think they'll keep it up.
Yeah, I mean, it is good to see that Karl Anthony Towns is, at least the Timberwolves are trying to build around him. We don't want to see a team like that waste a guy like Karl Anthony Towns' talent. You don't want to waste that talent because he's one of the most skilled centers we have in the game. Maybe outside of like Jokic or Embiid or guys like that, he is one of the most skilled centers we've seen in a while. The way he could stretch the floor, pass the ball, and he's just a great player overall. So it is good to see the Timberwolves do really, really well. Do you guys have any other?
The best shooter at that center position we've ever seen.
Oh yeah, he's the most efficient too.
Oh, and he can do step back threes, and he's 7 feet tall.
Oh yeah. Do you guys have any other teams that either have exceeded your expectations or that you're worried about so far?
Yeah, why are the Suns 1-3? You just went to the NBA Finals. They brought everyone back, and now they're 1-3. Devin Booker has been struggling a bit too, and I don't know. I'm a little worried about the Suns. I'm not going to call them out yet. They got Chris Paul, they got Booker, Ayton, who they won't extend for some reason. But they got all those guys back. I think
that doesn't make much sense. How do you? Who did they extend? They extended Landry Shamet. Didn't they extend Shamet?
They did.
Yeah, I think I saw something that DeAndre Ayton is the first number one pick to not be offered an extension on their contract since Anthony Bennett. And like, I know that you don't want to talk about Anthony Bennett as a Cavs fan, but like, you can't. The dude was like a very pivotal part of your championship team that, I mean, didn't win, but took you to the finals, and you're not going to pay him? How are you going to pay Landry Shamet over your at least third best player? Like that's just It's
Well,
to take the
I
words out of
honestly,
Stephen A. Smith's mouth. That's just blasphemous.
yeah, yeah, that doesn't make much sense. But I did see a stat that the 2018 draft class has already been paid over $1 billion if you add up everyone's combined contracts and extensions that they've gotten. It's added up to over $1 billion, which just goes to show the amount of talent that was in the 2018 class. You got guys like Trae Young, Luka, DeAndre Ayton, Sexton, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Michael Porter Jr., guys like that are just getting paid. And guys we don't even talk about that much. Wendell Carter with the Magic got, I think, a 4-year, $50 million deal or $60 million deal. But the only person from the 2018 class that really hasn't gotten paid, not because they haven't deserved it, but because they're not good, is probably Bagley.
Yeah,
And he wants
Bagley
out
is
anyway.
definitely
Yeah.
underperformed.
I mean, when you're the Kings and you take Bagley over Luka Doncic, I mean, granted, you did get the steal of the draft probably this year and last year with Tyrese Halliburton, and then this year you take in Davion Mitchell, but I don't think you can recover from taking Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic and Trae Young.
Yeah, that's like taking Alex Smith over Aaron Rodgers. Like that's just like
Hey.
how could a team be that poverty, right?
Right.
I just want to say, Harrison Barnes has been balling.
He
do
has.
not blame the Kings for not wanting Luka. When you have Harrison Barnes on your team, dropping 30 a game.
Yeah, Harrison, he's been shocking this year, to say the least. I think he's like I know he's top 10 in scoring. He might be top 5 in scoring this year. I know he's averaging like 28 a game or 27 a game.
I don't think that's going to last. But yeah, just a weird start.
Yeah, definitely not,
yeah.
but still.
I mean, for most teams, we're only 4 games in. For some teams, we're 5 games into the season. So it's still very, very early. And for teams like the Pistons and the Jazz, we're 3 games in. So it's still very early in the season. We're only 2 weeks in. But it's just very exciting to see like what teams are doing really, really well and what teams just, I don't know, we could see get better that haven't been playing that good.
Which, I mean,
yeah,
you kind of have to take like the first couple months like with a grain of salt, because like, what was it, like 2017 or whatever, when the Magic were like the 1 seed for like the first month or 2 of the season, and then they just lost out essentially, almost.
Yeah.
Like they won like 2 games in like 3 months.
Yeah.
So definitely it's interesting to see, but like the first like couple months aren't necessarily like the end all be all.
Right. And we still have the trade deadline. I mean, there's still a bunch of different factors of ways for teams to get better.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
There are still rumors of Ben Simmons being traded, if Kyrie's going to be traded, if so many guys are going to get traded. So it's going to be fun to see, like, come trade deadline, who actually gets moved and who actually stays put. My team that has exceeded my expectations, and this might be teensy-weensy bit bias, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't think anyone thought the Cavs would be 3-2 5 games into the season, especially beating the Nuggets and the Clippers, both on the road. So that, I mean, Evan Mobley's been playing like the Rookie of the Year. Sexland has been playing really good with Darius Garland. Ricky Rubio he's putting his 6th Man of the Year candidacy together. Dude, I'm telling you, watch out for these Cavs. This might be a little bit of bias, but they might sneak into the play-in tournament, and they might shock some people this year.
Yeah.
And then...
No. When you're talking shock, if you mean play-in, yes, I agree.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because only 5 teams missed the playoffs in play-in. So.
Is it 5? It's 5 from each conference, not 5 in total.
Yeah, 5 in
that's
each
right.
conference.
Yeah. And then team that I'm like, what the heck's going on? I got 2. I mean, Trey brought this one up earlier. It's the Suns. I mean, I could take the easy answer with the Lakers, but we all know the Lakers are in trouble. But what's going on with the Suns? Chris Paul, Devin Booker, they just haven't been playing really well. They're 1-3 on the year. They have a minus 8.5 point differential. They're just not playing good basketball. This is not the team that we saw go to the NBA Finals. And if I'm not mistaken, they didn't really lose anyone from last year's team, did they?
No, not really.
If anything,
Jake Crowder, I don't think is there. If I'm right,
I think he is there.
I don't know.
Here, let me
But
look it
I
up
think they
real
only
quick.
added like Shamit. Shamit they added, and they paid him because I think Shamit last year was on.
Somehow.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a whole other discussion. But
I think we already had that discussion.
yeah, that is. But yeah, what's just going on with Phoenix and then the Nets? What's going on with James Harden? James Harden has not been himself this year. I don't know if it's the rules where you just don't get easy free throws like last year and previous years, but James Harden hasn't been playing well at all. He's not shooting the ball great. He's not scoring a lot of points. He's not really getting that many assists compared to last year. So the Nets are concerning me a little bit. And I know they don't have Kyrie, and they probably won't have Kyrie for the whole year. But, I mean, the Nets are they're scaring me a little bit. I know they got Kevin Durant, and they got some other players, but they've certainly been disappointing to me so far this season. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, that team without the big three is just not good. And when you have James Harden playing below an all-star level, I'm just going to say that he's not an all-star at this moment. I think he'll bounce back. I'm not too concerned with them just because of the players they do have. But I just think outside of that big three, it's just not a very good team.
Right. And I just got the stats on Harden this year. He has career low in points per game other than his rookie year or first 2 years for the Thunder. Career low for field goal percentage, career low for 3-point percentage. He's averaging 16 points a game, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. And he's shooting 36% from the field and 33% from three. Granted, we are 5 games in, but man, that's still extremely concerning.
Yeah, I mean his big thing was that little flop that he could get a 3-point foul on, where he could get 3 free throws, and they took that away this year. So I think I saw something somewhere that over from 2017 to 2019 or 2020, I think free throws off of 3-point shooting fouls added an extra 3 or 4 points per game to James Harden's total stats. So taking that away from his repertoire, I could obviously see how that could affect his 3-point percentage, his field goal percentage, and his points.
Yeah, I don't think
definitely
that's
see
the
that
complete story, but yeah, I mean, there's just been so many clips on Twitter where he's trying to do those, trying to bait fouls that they just don't call anymore, which I'm very thankful for. I hated when they do that.
Oh yeah, it was bad for basketball when they were doing that.
It was. I mean, James Harden's a very skilled player, but he would get about 10 free throws a game, and he's only averaging 3 right now.
Yeah, that's just if I assume Harden will turn it around and he'll start playing good basketball. He'll average close to triple double this year. I'm not worried about that, but just as of right now, the Nets are and they to begin with they're old and they don't really play that good at defense. So when you can't score a lot of points and you don't play defense, the Lakers are finding this out. You lose games. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and I'm not too worried about either of those teams. I just think they have so many proven stars. I mean, Durant and LeBron James, the two best of the 2010s. So they're going to be all right. But I just don't see either of these teams right now being able to make a deep playoff push like expected.
Yeah, and I think we all assume that they're going to turn it around. But I think I'm more concerned about the Lakers, though, than I am the Nets. I do think eventually the Nets will either trade Kyrie, or I do think Kyrie comes back because I think they might loosen up protocols in New York because it's not an NBA thing, it's just a New York thing. So if they loosen up protocols, I could see him coming back to the Nets. But I trust the Nets more right now than I do the Lakers because the Lakers have just looked like a complete mess to me.
Yeah, and they've had their complete team around them too. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you guys have any final thoughts on this episode before we wrap it up?
Jazz are going to win the championship. I'm going to put that out there now. You can clip that. You can hold it against me all you want. It's going to happen.
I think we just got our thumbnail right there. Braden, you got any final thoughts?
No. I mean, I'm glad that the Bulls are back, but the next like however many games is going to be a true test to see how legitimate they are. I hope, but I mean, I've been watching the Bulls for a decent amount of time to know that maybe I'm tainted by watching Iowa State as well, but all good things must come to an end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
and
we'll
I
see.
think we covered pretty much all the topics we wanted to today. I mean, I don't really have any final thoughts. I thought it was a great episode. This was episode 2 of the CyHawk Sports Podcast. I'm Dawson Livingston, and I was joined by Trey Danielson and Braden Bankin, and we are signing off.